What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I want to welcome everybody to the Atmos Love Zone. K-Love 92 is in the building. But before we get started, I want y'all to do me a favor. And let's go!
1, 2, 3. Welcome to the show. Can you?
Energy, grab me a positive synergy. I have been doubted through life. Been there and done that with trifling people who told me my style would not work. I told them they wrong. The struggling too long. This song is for you. I'm proving you wrong.
Get out my way. 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 Alexa, stop. What up, what up, what up, y'all? What's going on? K-Love 92, what's good?
What's happening?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Man, I'm sure. Let me see where.
Johan is in the chat.
Johan in the chat. Okay. Okay. All right. All right. All right. I'm going to need a partner to come up here. I think Mike Knight said he was going to come through too. Because, yeah, man. Yeah. So how was your day today? What you
Pretty
do? What
good.
you do special today, K-Love?
I had a yard sale with my family, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of Saturdays off. I work 2 jobs, so yeah.
Okay. Well, man, I appreciate you. King Johan, what it do?
What it do, Brody?
Man, look, man, just doing what we do. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What's going on?
What's happening? What's up, Kayla?
Thank you for being here, man. Thank you for being here.
All the time, man. It's a pleasure.
Who up in here rocking with us on this Saturday night? We got LaShawn Davis in the building. We got Dynamite. We got Davis Campos in the building. Medina Campbell, Kush, Conchita. Hello. Man, look at this. Let me see who else up in here. Got the watermelons flowing. Let's talk with Lizette Martinez and Big Wall. What's going on? How you doing?
Oh, Lizette is here?
I believe that. Is that Lizette, or is that, if that's Lizette, what's up, Lizette? How you doing? Yeah, man. Shout out to Lizette. Shout out to Lizette, man. We love her over here. What's up, Jules Small? Hello. How are you? Boss Baby in the building. What up, Boss Baby? Cherie Harris. Hello. The Truth. What's up, The Truth? How you doing? What's going on? Riri on vacation, y'all. She can't read with us. She on vacation, but she'll be back. What's up, Flawless? How are you? Okay, love, right here. Cherie Harris, hello. Let me see. What's up, Troy Sweets? What's going on? What's going on, my brother? How are you? Vanetta M, hello. Miss me with that bull, partner. What's going on? Laura Zeffin, hello. Tracy Beckham, hello. NV1, Higgins, hello. How are you? All right, y'all. I think I got Daughter of the Most High, Jacqueline Jones, Rocky Rock, Jay McBride. Man, Shay Lopez, welcome back. Yeah, man. Had to take y'all back a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Man, listen. I'm a Queen Newton in the building. Hello. Aisha Stockton. Hello. Awesome KJ. What's going on? Hello. How are you? What's up, Tony? How are you? Thanks for coming in. All right, y'all. Think I got Rocking with the Truth. What's going on? Yulita Rice. Hello. Hello. How are you? Yes, I thank you. Thank you for visiting. I came and visited y'all. I appreciate you coming through. All right, man. So y'all, let's get it in. Love you too. Oh, that is Lizette. But y'all put red hearts up for Lizette, man. Lizette Martinez. That's my sis right there. CJ, I'll be on 20. Yes, CJ will be coming on about 20, 30 minutes. Awesome. Thank you, CJ. Appreciate you. Who is this? Family over everything. Absolute chaos supporter. Just love the way you guys are reading this thing. Thank you. Family over everything. We appreciate you being here. Thank you. All right, y'all. So we about to get this in. As y'all know, this here is the transcripts from 9/7, and which is the first day, I believe, that Mr. McDavid is getting on the stand. So it's gonna be fun. Shoot, man, you already know what to do, Johan. You already know what to do.
Yeah, I already got some.
Yeah, I know. You already know what it is. So y'all check it out. Let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and share this with y'all. Let me see here. Let me go ahead and share this. Let's share and let's get y'all on the same zone. Do you want to play McDavid, bro? Because McDavid, I can just tell you right now. Now I can do him, but if you want to, you can. He's when he first came on, he was very, very professional. Spoke clearly, very respectful. Nothing shady about him. Just straight up, just very sharp, very articulate. And then on another day that we read, then that's when he kind of turned up a little bit. So I don't mind playing him. If you want to play him, you know what I mean? It's all good.
Either way.
Be the lawyer.
Who's the lawyer? Who's the
either one of us to do, either one. It don't matter to me.
I think it's Mr. Brindley.
Mr. Brindley. Oh, it is Mr. Brindley. Your choice. What you want to do? Now, Brindley, that's his lawyer.
Right.
Tanya, hold on. Let me do this. Hold on, here we go. Okay, let me do this and let me share this with y'all. What's up, Tanya, with the sleepy tea?
How's it going?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. Sorry I was late.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate
Absolutely. I wouldn't miss it.
Awesome. So, if you, man, look, I'm gonna let you make that call, bro. What you wanna
do? I mean, I could do them. Well, but if you want to do them, though, I mean, you could do them, bro.
I could start. You've been doing Brindley. You do everything great, bro. So it don't matter to me. I'll start off as him. You can do both.
Okay.
And if you want to, we can, probably next time we can switch off. It don't matter.
Okay, cool. We could do
all right,
like that,
ladies, Tanya, if you could do Bonjean. I love how you got that snappiness to you.
All right, Caleb, no problem.
If you could be, you know what? If you could be the government, Caleb, especially like Miss Apatine or Miss Judge, because they're gonna get into McDavid's ass whenever they get a chance to get to him.
Okay.
Like they are going so I'm gonna kind of stretch you a little bit, and I'm gonna need you to kind of, you know what I mean, get out your shell, and I want you to really come at him like, bruh, really? You really gonna sit up here and act like, yeah, you know what I mean? I know you can do it. I know you can do it. All right, yo, let's get it, y'all. Let's get it. So let me go ahead and do this, and let me make sure y'all can see everything. Let me take this down right here. You go down, and then I got my border there. Okay, and let's go ahead and expand this so everybody can see. All right, and we are now about to read 9/7/2022. This is the defense's opportunity to bring on their witnesses and get it in. Okay, so let's go ahead and move up. So the judge starts it out. Proceedings heard in open court. Everybody's here. The first motion, I guess we would take is Mr. Derrel and the New Yorkers' motion to squash. And I did not. I believe get a response from McDavid?
We're prepared to respond this morning, Judge. It's not complicated. I don't know. I don't know where their lawyer is.
All right. It's not complicated. Go ahead.
Judge,
I mean, I guess the question is, what do you purport to elicit from Mr. Derrel that would be admissible in evidence? Go ahead and play the law, Kirk. Either one of y'all, either Kayla or
should we bring Mr. DeRogatis in?
no.
I wouldn't think so. Let's get
His lawyers should be in there.
the lawyers here.
Judge, did you want him now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess he was here. Yeah, he should. I guess be in here for, it's his motion. Good morning. When you address the court, you may remove your mask. I had asked the defendant McDavid to tell me, what they purport to elicit, that, would be admissible in evidence, and see if there's anything that they're, and if so, we can decide how to handle it.
Judge, first of all, we do not intend to elect any information about anything that Mr. Derrel Mcdavid. My apologies, Your Honor. Heard from any source. We are not interested in that. We are not going to ask about that. His discussion with no one are interesting to us, or will be asking about by us. The entirety of our examination would be limited to showing Mr. Derrel a videotape that the government has admitted into evidence and said is what they got and had suggested through Dan Everett is, in fact, the correct videotape that's the same as what was received back in 2002. We want to show Mr. Derrel that VHS tape and allow him to tell us whether or not it appears to be the same one. I'm presuming Mr. Derrel will admit readily that the tape he did not have labeling on it, and that says copy. So I think it's pretty easy, but I insist also that I think it's important because the government has not produced to this jury, or to us for that matter, as our early pretrial motions suggested. They have not produced the video that Mr. Derrel received, and we think the only person that can truly establish that is Mr. Derrel. But Judge, that's it, Judge. It's not anything other than thinking about the tape that he received in his hands and laid his eyes on, and then putting it in his hands and letting him lay his eyes on what the government has and point out the differences between what he got in. Got in his hands in 02 and what they have put in our hands.
In other words, this goes to your argument that, that the court was wrong when it ruled that the authentication, rather than the fact that it's precisely physically the same tape. Is that correct?
In part, Judge, but it also goes to the question of whether the tape that the jury's seen. I think this is just as relevant for Mr. Kelly as for anybody, for Mr. McDavid. Whether the tape that the jury has seen here is really the same tape that was produced back then, or whether it's different in certain ways, maybe different in certain ways. Those things are relevant for the jury's consideration, but that's it. We're not getting into any details, and we're certainly not going to ask him about his source material, which seemed to be the bulk of the concern of the motion.
Do you purport that to have him view this in court, in front of the jury, and then tell us that?
Just the physical object, not the contents.
Is Miss
And
Gard?
Judge, I didn't know I was on mute.
Look at the cassettes that he got in the mail versus the one that he got in his hands. Look at his physical. Look at his physical thing. Is there a difference between what you've got in your hands and what you received in your mailbox in 2002? He can answer that question, and that will basically be it.
What's the relevance, though? I mean, how does that fit into the, it's already been identified as, as authentic?
Well, no, it's not. It has not. It's been identified by Dan Everett as looking similar to the one that he says that he saw back then. However, Mr. Everett admitted on cross-examination that he did not know whether it was actually the same length.
Well, except what I'm arguing is that the victims have all testified that they viewed it and find it to be an authentic reproduction of what was taken.
They.
So, I mean, I understand your argument that, they haven't established the chain of custody.
Yes, and I think that goes to it's a reasonable doubt argument for the jury too. It's a simple point, but some jurors could find that creates a reasonable doubt, and we want to be able to present that.
And Judge, the complaining witnesses identified images. They didn't identify any tapes. They just identified the images, which may be sufficient, obviously, to sustain for the government to sustain its burden on some of the counts. But it is, I think, still relevant evidence. And to add on to this, I think we would also want to elicit from Mr. DeRogatis that some of his reporting on Mr. Kelly actually preceded the tape being sent to him. And that's relevant for us because I think the government will argue that. I think specifically with at least one of these accusers that she filed her lawsuit before there was anything even in the news, which is not the case at all. So it's also just a timing issue of when he did his reporting, which again, I suppose that we could get it out through a stipulation of the government. But I believe Mr. DeRogatis, before he got the tape, was already doing reporting about Mr. Kelly and the rumors.
Before I rule, I think it's only polite to let, is it Mr. Stern? If he wants to briefly address the issue.
Sure, Your Honor. Thank you. If we're talking about the copy, the physical copy of the videotape Mr. DeRogatis has repeatedly published, he received an unmarked rectangular VHS cassette indistinguishable from any other VHS cassette. And if that's the sole issue here, it could have been resolved by a stipulation, by an affidavit, by a number of other means. The same goes for the chronology of the reporting. That's not a contested issue. That could, have been resolved in any number of ways rather than subpoenaing a reporter to appear in court. Discouraging further news gathering. The kind of news gathering that leads to trials like this. A reporter who's been harassed in the past, who wasn't given witness fees for his appearance today. We had to arrange his own security. The defense didn't do that for us. There's no reason for this harassment subpoena. There's no reason for him to have to testify to something as simple as the fact that he got a black videotape in the mail.
Okay. The only criticism I would have, and as I understand, is hold one moment. We got Hi, Ike, nice. How you doing, sir?
What's happening, Judge? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Uh, if you want to, when Mister Julian comes in later on, you can fill in for him, please.
So,
Thank you. Please put your phones on mute if you're not speaking. All right. And as I was saying here, I feel it. This is in addition to the argument that the defendants have made that the court, in order to have the tapes admitted in evidence, must show a chain of custody, which the government cannot do. But the court has already ruled that the question whether if they're authenticated, they'd be admitted into evidence. I don't see any basis to call Mr. Derogatis, who, unless he would, sit here and review it and compare it to CDs that have been admitted into evidence. So the motion to quash is granted. Thank you. The next motion, and Mr. Derogatis, you're excused. Go ahead, Showtime, Mr. Derogatis.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for the First Amendment.
And the next is, I guess, the government's renewed objection to the business records. They propose that if the court doesn't rule in their favor to request a two-step process, in other words, we'll let them in, and then Mr. McDavid proposes to use one of the documents that the government may object as irrelevant or immaterial. Or what's the third? Mike, go ahead and read Mr. Williamson, Mike. Ike, nice. See here. Ike, nice, you're on mute. Okay, King Johan, go ahead and read Mr. Williamson, please.
Prejudicial, Your Honor.
Whatever.
Prejudicial to them. I think they're going to have to live with it, and I think that's generally.
I learned on the old. Well, anyway, so I think we'll do it that way. If the rule on the witness is called, what's her name? Begins with a G, if I remember right. Martha Johansson. And then I'll rule on her testimony, and then assuming I'll let them in, then prior to their use, we'll give the government time to object to the specific documents or any defendant specific documents. So we'll do it that way. So the government's second submission is granted in part and denied in part, I guess.
Judge, one thing. There is a single. One of the exhibits is different than the others with Miss Johansson, in that one of them is Jack Palladino's billing statement, which I think is just a plain business record and would be admissible into evidence regardless of whether Mr. McDavid testified or not, because it talks about the timing when certain meetings were happened and were billed for in Kansas City with Chuck Freeman. So we believe that the billing statement exhibit is admissible regardless. And so we would think that one would be treated differently than the others. Mr. McDavid will testify about how each of these documents impacted him, and we will lay the proper foundation for their admission. But I do believe the billing statement is a separate and obvious business record, and that we would not need a two-step process for that document.
What's the government's position on the billing statement?
Your Honor, we would argue that that document suffers from any of the same problems as the other
purported business records, including the length, the lag in time from when the underlining information was transmitted, and the narrative that are potentially prejudicial that are contained therein. So we would just ask that, given that you've already granted the two-step process, that has had that this record is treated along with the others.
Well, I have previously ruled, and I'm going to stay where I was. And that is that this is a business record. And it seems to me that it certainly does it. I mean, I would assume if it was paid, it would be admitted into evidence in the civil case normally. And I don't see any basis other than possible relevance. I mean, that would be the only possible argument. I think certainly that would be a business record. He's in the business of making money, conducting investigations, and the fact that he submitted a bill which presumably would be itemized. So assuming that the witness properly identifies that, as a business record of Mr. Palladino, then, that one I can see would be admitted into evidence. To the next, I believe, motion is Kelly's request that his attorney conduct a cross-examination after the government.
It's more to that, Judge. The motion has a number of things in it.
I know. A number?
Okay, I'm sorry.
We'll take them, piecemeal. That's one.
That's first. Okay.
The government objects, and it seems to be, that assuming that the government stays within the bounds of the direct examination and doesn't expand beyond it, there shouldn't be anything in the cross-examination of the government that would be plowing material that beyond what Mr. McDavid testifies to. And if they do, I will certainly allow you to conduct a cross-examination afterward. So specifically, your request that your total cross-examination occur after the government is denied. I will, however, consider if the government strays beyond the direct examination of Mr. McDavid, then I will allow you to conduct, I guess, a recross. The other matters are, I'm looking for my list. Let me see, the barring of 404B material. We did consider this. I'm not sure what matters will be brought up that haven't, but, that weren't considered in the original. Your original motion, and maybe you can list ones you think that the court should.
I'm happy to elaborate, Judge. I did put some categories there, but specifically, and again, yes, I did a motion to bar 404B in our original pretrial motions in limine, but of course, at that point, I have limited information. A, whether Mr. McDavid is going to testify, and things come into focus throughout trial, of course. And then being notified, of course, that he was going to testify brings up some issues. So, for one thing, the Florida arrest and the investigation or any of the proceedings related to the Florida child pornography arrest charges should be off limits. I don't know that there's any good faith basis to believe that Mr. McDavid had access to any of those materials or would have looked at any of those materials. He wasn't representing Mr. Kelly. So I don't think it goes to his knowledge unless he's going to say, yes, I looked at all of that stuff and I was able to tell, which I don't believe will be his testimony. There's no indication.
Well, let me ask, Mr. Brindley, are you planning on going into the Florida matter?
Well, Judge,
it sounds like we have Transformers here in the courtroom. One of my favorite movies. Johan, it sounds like you're cracking up, my friend.
All right, I'm gonna leave and come back in.
All right, if you could jump in for me.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Judge, that depends greatly on whether the government is allowed to go into on cross. I have direct examination prepared regarding each of the categories that Ms. Margin has addressed. The purpose of our direct examination on those subjects is so that we're not, well, the jury doesn't see Mr. McDavid getting blindsided with things in front of the jury that we know about that the government may cross. Now, I agree with Ms. Margin that the Florida arrest of Mr. Kelly that was found to be based on an illegal search and for which no conviction ever occurred, I agree that that should be off limits. But if they're going to be allowed to cross-examine Mr. McDavid on the subject in any way, whether it's in connection with his lawsuit or in connection with that event at the time, then yes, I'm going to put in direct examination on it. But I would join Ms. Margin in a request that the government be disallowed from discussing anything related to the subject with respect to his lawsuit or with respect to the incident itself as it relates to the Florida issue. And so with regards to that, I agree with Ms. Margin. But if the government's going to be permitted to cross-examine him about that, to say that it has some impact on his knowledge, then we will provide direct testimony on that first, because it did not.
What's the government's position? I know you've taken the position that, the Florida matter is relevant. And how do you indicate that it's relevant? Let me see if Mr. Williamson's back in here.
Yeah, Your Honor, just to clarify.
I think he got back in. Hold on, let me see. Okay, you can read Mr. Williamson.
What it sound like now?
Sounds better. Thank you.
Cool.
You're at number 19, sir. Yes, sir.
Cool.
Hold on, we have a special guest in the courtroom. We have the plaintiff Jane. If people in the crowd will put in the pancakes, because I'm kind of hungry, didn't eat yet, but put some sticky pancakes in the chat for the plaintiff Jane, please. All right, let's continue, Mr. Williamson.
Your Honor, just to clarify, we don't anticipate getting into the substance of the Florida matter. It's just the fact the Florida matter existed and the potential impact on Mr. McDavid's knowledge of certain factors that could play into the broader conspiracy as alleged. So we're not going to dive into the details of it. It's just the more existence of it.
But it's still...
Here's what I'll do. I think 404 balancing would indicate that the prejudice outweighs the relevance, so I will have the Florida matter out.
Judge, thank you. A couple of other subject matters. I think the court already ruled that anything related to Aaliyah was barred. I assume that still holds true?
Yes, that was already ruled, and I don't see the government willing to get into that.
And then...
As long as they...
we can have Mr. Brindley back. If you'll read Mr. Williamson, please. Mr. Nice.
Gotcha,
Go ahead.
Sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Showtime.
As long as they, I'm not going to question on that at all. My plan was not to, but if they think that they're, what I would like to have to happen, Judge, and what I would ask is, if they think that we have an answer for that too. Mr. McDavid and I have prepared direct examination on this topic if we have to. But if the government thinks they're going to get into that, or they think that the door has been opened to that at the time
It's my understanding, and I already ruled that that's off limits.
Okay.
So you aren't asking to go into that there, are you?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
And Judge, there are a number of other prior lawsuits that started coming out in and around the time that Mr. DeRogatis began reporting on Mr. Kelly. And those lawsuits that were either threatened or actually filed and settlements negotiated by Mr. McDavid on behalf of Mr. Kelly that are not directly relevant to the instant litigation. I think should be barred. Again, first of all, I don't think there's any non-propensity purpose for any of it. But even if there was, we are talking about having a mini trial on these things. And then I think the 403 prejudice substantially outweighs any probative value. Again, I have no reason to believe that Mr. McDavid would testify that any of this put him on notice of something specific to Jane or any of the accusers here.
All right. Let me ask, Mr. Brindley, assuming that the government doesn't get into that, do you intend to get into prior lawsuits other than the ones that have come into evidence in this case?
Judge, one of the answer is one of the lawsuits. The very first lawsuit that was brought against Mr. Kelly did. The experience of that lawsuit had a significant impact on Mr. McDavid's beliefs and knowledge regarding any allegation about underage sex and Robert Kelly. And I don't.
Which lawsuit was that?
It's her name was Tiffany Hawkins. She was the first one to bring a suit against Mr. Kelly, and Mr. McDavid was present for a deposition in that. He was speaking with Mr. Margolis and was involved in seeing how that went. Based on that, Mr. McDavid came to hold certain opinions about whether or not people were making an effort to lie about Mr. Kelly and other in order to get paid. And those opinions resonated and carried over to his consideration of everything regarding this incident. Jane, the videotape. So that experience had a significant impact on his thoughts and his beliefs and whether these things were true. So,
all right. What's the government's view, first of all, on the broader subject of the presumably multiple lawsuits and specifically the Tiffany Hawkins lawsuit?
Your Honor, this case is full of lawsuits, and we expect Mr. McDavid will testify that handling some of these lawsuits were part of his job duties in relation to Mr. Kelly. There's plenty of non-propensity reasons of evidence of prior lawsuits to come and cross in ranges of individuals. So a blanket forbids on lawsuits is.
All right. I wasn't. I got the impression that Mr. Brindley would be satisfied with the Tiffany Hawkins lawsuit and not go into. I don't know. How many lawsuits are there?
Judge, there's a whole litany of them. And really, what Mr. McDavid will say is that after the Tiffany Hawkins lawsuit that he observed, and then after another incident, that wasn't a lawsuit, but some investigation by Jack Palladino, he came to the belief that people are basically being paid to lie about Mr. Kelly. And then after that, his role with respect to lawsuits was much more limited, that they were handled by the lawyers. So, well, he was consulted about what exactly.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to deny. I assume that that's a motion in limine on lawsuits, and we'll limit it, to whatever Mr. McDavid testifies to. And then the government, of course, can cross-examine on that subject, but beyond that?
Your Honor, just a clarification from the government's end. We believe that the rationale behind Tiffany Hawkins would apply to the 4 such lawsuits in this case. So 2 of the victim witnesses, Tiffany Hawkins and Patricia Jones, the same rationale applies across the board. So we don't want to limit it just to Tiffany Hawkins.
Well, it would basically be limited to certain extent by Mr. McDavid's direct testimony. As far as going beyond it is concerned, I have to rule, I guess, as it comes up.
Judge, there's one other thing that I know is relevant equally to Miss Bonjean and I, and I'm sure she'll speak to it as well. But one of the things that Mr. McDavid may testify about, or may feel may feel we need to testify about, is an unsigned complaint in connection with his lawsuit that's in the possession of the government. And in that unsigned complaint, Mr. McDavid never signed it. There's never a particular adoption of these facts by Mr. McDavid. But it does go into certain lawsuits that Mr. McDavid had some involvement with. Now, it is my preference not to have to go through all of that and that and the third. My count of Mr. McDavid's unsigned complaint regarding these lawsuits be disallowed, and I think Miss Bonjean got a good point on that.
Well, I'm not sure what McDavid's unsigned complaint is.
Judge, it was an unsigned draft complaint that he never signed. Unclear who even drafted it.
Well, what was the purpose of the complaint?
The unsigned complaint was sent by McDavid's lawyers to Kelly's lawyers to convince him that a settlement would be a good idea. That's what it is, but it's not signed by Mr. McDavid.
Wait a minute. Mr. McDavid was considering filing a lawsuit?
McDavid was saying he would sue Kelly unless Kelly gave him the 1.3 million he owed him.
Oh, sue Kelly?
And one of the things that they did in trying to get that settlement was they sent the unsigned complaint.
So, okay, I was trying to figure out, that complaint.
Yes.
That's already in evidence?
No, not that one. The one that's in evidence is about breach of contract after he violated the agreement to pay. Prior to making the agreement to pay, this unsigned complaint was provided, and this unsigned complaint was also attached to, I don't know, some litigation in the civil case. I don't know what, but in any event, the government has it. And if they intend to cross-examine Mr. McDavid about his content, then Mr. McDavid will, on direct examination, go through that document in its entirety.
All right. Well, what's the government's position on the quote, unsigned complaint?
Your Honor, we're not planning on entering that into evidence, but we do plan on examining Mr. McDavid about the contents of that complaint. It's directly relevant to the issue here. It was the draft before the final complaint.
All right. Well, then, I guess the...
Judge, if I could please, it's my client who's going to pay greatly prejudiced by this cross-examination, I think. This unsigned complaint has numerous allegations about the details of other accusers and Mr. McDavid's role in settling these lawsuits, which, by the way, is not really a disputed fact. That Mr. McDavid played that role is in and of itself not a disputed fact. I don't have any issue with that. But the details of those lawsuits, which I believe are laid out in this complaint with some level of specificity, which are highly prejudicial, it's just one after the next, serves no purpose. The government doesn't get anything additional out of cross-examining Mr. McDavid about the substance of these lawsuits. They can get out that was one of his roles, that he did help manage he did damage control for Mr. Kelly when there were lawsuits filed, but the government wants to get into the nature of these lawsuits, which is going to end up just being a mountain of prejudicial information, not relevant to anything here, and certainly not relevant to Mr. Kelly. And it's going to highlight the antagonism that naturally exist when Mr. McDavid is going to say, I didn't have knowledge of certain things. And then they're going to be able to cross-examine him about every lawsuit that was ever filed. I mean, it's highly prejudicial. I mean, the lawsuit mentions things like, Mr. Kelly getting shots to control his sexual impulses. That's all types of Mr. Kelly's lawsuits from employees, which may or may not be related to any sexual misconduct. There's a whole list of things there.
There are, Judge, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but there are. If the government is going to be allowed to question them regarding the contents of this document, we will direct on it, because I'm not going to have that come in as a surprise. We have talked about it at length. We're prepared to discuss it and explain.
Well, there might be, since the government does not intend to offer it into evidence, it appears that their lawsuits, I'm trying to read what, getting shots to control his sexual impulses and stuff like that. I mean, there seems to me to be off limits.
Yeah, Your Honor, this is not just any lawsuit, and it's not just any draft complaint. This is part and parcel of the alleged conspiracy to obstruct justice. It explains the information that McDavid had on Mr. Kelly that led to the sequential payments once the complaint was actually filed.
Well, certain aspects?
It's directly relevant to the conspiracy charges.
Well, it seems to me that 403 would rule out, I think, getting shots for, and so forth.
Judge, perhaps what we should do is give you a copy of count 3 of this complaint, which has all this stuff in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can rule on what parts are out, so I know what.
I take it, he won't be testifying until this afternoon.
Well, after we won't get to this until probably tomorrow morning, Judge. So no.
All right.
Not right away.
Well, why don't you do that? Make a list of topics and I'll roll. I'll 403 those, and that shouldn't go into as opposed to that, relevant to some changes in the case. Is there anything else? I think I've covered all the motions.
Well, Judge, as part of our motion, discuss the fact that we would be moving to bar statements from Mr. Kelly that were made in the context of an attorney-client privilege. They are covered by the attorney-client privilege, which Mr. McDavid alleges that, as you know from his opening statement, that he was served as an agent of Mr. Jensen and that there is some type of an agreement that existed. I don't know what sort of statements Mr. McDavid will be getting into, but just generally speaking, obviously, anything that Mr. Kelly may have said in the context of attorney-client relationship, which extends to Mr. Jensen's agents, and the law is pretty clear on that, would be privileged and should.
Okay.
Judge, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
Would be privileged and should be excluded.
First of all, Mr. Brentley, how do you respond to that?
Well, first of all, Judge, there's a case law in the Seventh Circuit that says when defending himself against a criminal allegation, an attorney, not even talking about agents, but an attorney, is permitted to violate the privilege and provide whatever evidence he has that's necessary to defend himself against the criminal allegation. So I don't think that the attorney-client privilege issue applies much at all. The only statements we'll offer from Mr. Kelly are statements that were made. We're offering them for their purpose on the impact on Mr. McDavid's thinking, and then sometimes on his subsequent course of conduct. However, in reality, most of the statements from Mr. Kelly to Mr. McDavid that we would get into evidence occurred before Mr. Jensen was hired. The bulk of them. I think there are a couple after that, but they really amount to situations where Mr. Kelly advises Mr. McDavid that someone has said something to him or approached him about something related to the Jane and the videotape, or Jane and his relationship, and Mr. Kelly and let me go back up. Mr. Kelly then tells Mr. McDavid that none of this is true. He denies it all. And that impacts Mr. McDavid's views on things in various ways. So Mr. Kelly never made a statement to Mr. McDavid admitting any culpability on any of this. Not that we would admit into evidence, and not ever. Mr. Kelly never did that. And so we don't have any evidence like that. We're not going to submit any evidence like that. The only piece of statement from Mr. Kelly to Mr. McDavid has to do with in 2007, the evidence for Mr. McDavid will show that Mr. Kelly advised that he was contacted by Lisa Van Allen, who let him know that she had stolen a tape of him and her and his wife, and that Mr. Kelly expressed serious concern about that not getting to the media and the desire to have the sex tape obtained. The conversation happens and motivates Mr. McDavid to contact Mr. Jensen, and then begins the polygraphs and the issues with Keith and Lisa. But that we have heard about. That statement, I don't think, is all damaging to Mr. Kelly, but it's certainly not offered for truth and just the impact to show Mr. McDavid's thinking on what he did.
So you're also suggesting that occurred prior to the retention of Mr.
The one is after. I mentioned that one because it's after, and that is definitely after Mr. Jensen is retained. But even then, based on the case law in the Seventh Circuit, I think the case is WEGER. Am I right? Thank you. WEGER. Maybe Mr. Kralovic has the site. I think we do.
Yeah. Yes. The site is 709F2D1151, and it's 7th Circuit in 1983.
Indicating that a lawyer himself is not bound by the privilege when he's compelled to respond to criminal allegations against him. But all of that said, Judge, the statements that Mr. Kelly made to Mr. McDavid are not incriminating. He never made an incriminating statement to Mr. McDavid at any time. In fact, he maintained all times that none of this was true, as did a lot of other people. And those statements impact Mr. McDavid. They're clearly admissible for a state of mind, but I don't believe they're barred by any sort of peer privilege. The bulk of them happened before Jensen. And the statement about Lisa Van Allen and the tape certainly doesn't hurt Mr. Kelly in this case, but also because of the nature of the case law in Seventh Circuit, it's not going to be privileged. And in addition to that, Mr. Kelly's making this statement for purposes of Mr. McDavid contacted other people with the information, which also is a waiver to the privilege. If you give someone information and say, hey, I expect you to go tell somebody this so we can do something about it, that also waives the privilege. So I don't think it's really an issue at all, Judge.
All right, well, I'll handle it as it comes along. Anything else before we bring the jury in and get moving? Miss Judge, I believe it's Caleb 92.
Yes, Judge. Very briefly, I filed a motion this morning asking for an order for pre-trial services to release my client's passport to me so that I can have it and decide if I'm going to move it into evidence.
All right, so ordered.
Thank you.
Anything else? Well, let's bring in the jury. Who's your first witness this morning? Martha Johansson. Proceedings heard in open court. Jury is in. Please be seated. Good morning, members of the jury. Sorry for the late start. We had a few matters to attend to, but we're now ready to proceed, and the first witness is going to be by video. Where is she located? Go ahead, Mr.
Reno, Nevada.
Reno, Nevada. Okay, and so Mr. Glosman will conduct a direct examination.
Yes, Your Honor. We call Martha Johansson.
I will call systems.
Do we need systems or?
We can try, Judge, but there might be a severe echo. Do you know if the witness was on?
I thought you had her on.
There is someone on the meeting. I don't know who it is.
Can we go with with whatever witness and then come back to this? Do we need to get our systems people in here?
Judge, we have a stipulation and a witness that we can proceed with.
All right. Well, why don't we do that at least, and we'll get something done while we're trying to do this.
I'll go into the hallway and call her, Your Honor.
All right. Is this?
We are going to call Agent Molina. Yes.
Please raise your right hand. Agent Molina. Please be seated. You may remove your mask while you testify. Amelia Molina, defendant Kelly's witness, sworn direct examination.
Good morning, Agent. Thank you for coming back.
Thank you. Good morning.
Again, could you reintroduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, just as a reminder of who you are and what you do real quickly?
My name is Amelia Molina. I'm a special agent with Homeland Security Investigations.
And you testified last week, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. We had you back here today because we have a couple of questions related to your investigation to follow up on. Agent, when were you assigned to this case again? If you could remind us.
I was assigned in March of 2019.
And after you were assigned to the case, as part of your responsibilities, did you gather files from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office?
I did, yes.
Okay. And did you do that by subpoena, or how did you obtain those files?
I accompanied Special Agent Reynolds to the Cook County State Attorney's Office downtown and picked up boxes of grand jury material.
Okay. And the boxes that you picked up, you said there was grand jury material in there?
Correct.
Were there also reports that were prepared by agents of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office?
Yes. Reports, Chicago police reports, media.
Essentially, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office file as it relates to what case?
The 2002 through 2008 trial against Robert Kelly.
And is it your understanding that the investigation commenced in and around 2002?
Correct.
And it went to trial in 2008, right?
Yes.
Okay. And was the Cook County State's Attorney's Office cooperative with you as a federal agent?
Yes.
All right. And in preparation in your work on this case, did you have an opportunity to become familiar with the documents that you obtained from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office?
I was, yes.
And does that mean you reviewed grand jury material?
Yes.
Did you look at police reports and investigative reports?
Yes.
And in your review of that material, did you see any document that reflected a statement by Tracy that indicated that she had told anyone that she participated in a threesome with Jane?
There were documents mentioning her name in regards to potential witness for prior behavior, but there was no statement from Tracy.
Okay. And was there anything in those reports that reflected that she was ever even interviewed by an agent of the Cook County State's Attorney's Office?
I did not see an interview report.
Okay. How many documents did you see that referenced her name?
Maybe six documents.
Okay. And in any of those documents, did it reflect that Tracy had been interviewed by any Cook County State's Attorney's Office Cook County State's Attorney agent?
No.
And did any of those documents reflect that Tracy had disclosed to anyone in the Cook County State's Attorney's Office that she had participated in a threesome with Jane?
I did not see that, no.
Okay, I have nothing further.
Cross-examine. Are there any questions?
Nothing.
Mr. Brindley, any questions? Miss Judge, any questions?
No, thank you.
The government?
Yes.
Oh,
Very briefly, Your Honor.
Mr. Julian, you may question.
Good morning again, Ms. Special Agent Molina.
Good morning.
You didn't put together that compilation of documents that you received from Cook County, is that right?
No, I did not.
You just went over there and got the box out of the box of documents that they prepared for you.
Correct.
So you're not, as you sit here, certifying that the complete and accurate copy of their file?
Correct.
You just know what you got from Cook County?
Yes.
Yeah. You were asked a number of questions whether there were reports of the interview with respects to Tracy in those documents. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you remember if there was an interview from 2019 regarding Tracy with respects to Cook County?
Objection. This is outside the scope. I was referencing materials from 2002 to 2008.
Your Honor, this is a Cook County State's Attorney's Office interview.
That doesn't matter. We already acknowledged that in 2019 she had a lot to say. If the question is whether she had anything to say between 2002 and 2008.
All right. If the direct was limited to particular interviews, then I'll sustain the objection.
Based on your review of the report, you can't say as you sit here that Tracy was not interviewed in between 2002 and 2008?
Correct.
Okay. And it's just, there wasn't a report of an interview from that time frame in the materials that you received from Cook County?
Correct.
If you give me a moment, Your Honor. Nothing further.
Just one question, Your Honor.
Okay.
Agent, did you see an investigative report from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office in 2002 that actually said, don't interview her?
No.
If we could mark this as Defendant Kelly 1, where are we at? 24. 124. Could we show it for just the... Okay, thanks.
Just for the witness?
Just the witness. Can you pull out the bottom? Does this refresh your recollection about whether in April of 2002, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office investigator indicated, locate her, but don't contact her?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any reason to believe that the Cook County State's Attorney's Office was withholding reports from you?
No.
And did you see any grand jury testimony in which Tracy testified?
No, I did not.
All right. Nothing further.
All right. You can step down. We have another all-star that just came in on the panel. CJ is here. How you doing, CJ?
Hey guys, how are
Hey,
you?
CJ.
Hey, y'all.
What's good?
Hi.
Thank you,
Hi.
Johan.
She's always. I love the way she says, "Hi guys." Hi
Yeah.
guys.
Right.
All right. Well, witness is excused. Call your next witness. Did you get these things working? Do you think?
I think so, Your Honor.
All right.
Can you hear us?
Oh. So, witness, go ahead and read the witness, CJ, since you just came in, please.
Sounds good. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to swear her in, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you please raise your right hand?
I do.
Mr. Glassman, you may question her. Martha Johansson, defendant McDavid's witness, sworn via video conference direct examination.
Good morning. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Marta Johansson, MartaJohansen.
And how old are you, Miss Johansson?
I'm 66.
Where do you live?
I live in Reno, Nevada.
Right out there. What do you do for a living?
I answer phones and emails for a group of forensic psychiatrists remotely.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that for a year.
So what did you do prior to this job?
Prior to that, I worked for Jack Palladino and Sutherland.
I had a hard time hearing. Did you say you worked for Jack Palladino and the company's name was Palladino and Sutherland?
That's right.
And who is Jack Palladino?
Jack Palladino was a private investigator, licensed attorney, and private investigator who handled a great many cases over many decades.
So, in addition to being an investigator, he was also a licensed attorney?
That's right.
What kind of clients was he hired by?
A very wide variety, some from very high-profile clients. Probably best known would be the Clinton election campaign in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
The group also investigated the People's Temple, Jim Jones, Jonestown deaths, multiple defendant cases, criminal cases like the Hells Angels, and then high-profile performing artists, Russell Crowe, Courtney Love, Robin Williams.
Right. Was he hired directly by these clients, or did sometimes attorneys hire him to work for these clients?
Almost always it was attorneys who hired.
And when you worked at Palladino and Sutherland, did you work directly with Jack Palladino?
Yes, I did.
How long did you work for him?
I started working there in 1980.
And you worked there until last year? Did you work until 2021 or 2022?
I worked in the past year once or twice a month to help find and clean things up, yes.
So is it fair to say you worked there for about 41, 42 years?
Correct.
Now, why did you stop working for Jack Palladino?
Jack was killed in 2021.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. While you worked for Jack, what was your official job title?
We didn't really have titles, but administrative assistant would probably be the best term.
So if I called you an administrative assistant, I don't mean it to disrespect you anyway. It's going to be easier for me.
That's just fine.
Okay. What were your duties as administrative assistant?
Everything that needs to be done in an office. I was answering phones. I was keeping track of email. I was editing and sending out reports. I was helping manage the calendar. The usual things.
Okay, so as part of your duties, did you prepare clients' files for Jack Palladino?
Yes, I did.
And did you review his reports before placing them in the files?
Yes.
What about the invoices? Are you familiar with invoices that were generated at Palladino and Sutherland?
Yes. I myself did not generate them, but I would assist in putting them together fairly often. And I was definitely responsible for putting them away.
And while you worked at Palladino and Sutherland, did you maintain copies of the client's files?
Yes.
Now, as part of your duties as administrative assistant, did you become familiar with the records that Palladino and Sutherland kept in the ordinary course of business?
Yes, I did.
And are you familiar with the types of documents that were received or created and relied upon by Palladino and Sutherland in the ordinary course of business?
Yes.
All right. So during the time that you worked for Jack Palladino, did you represent someone by the name of Robert Kelly or R. Kelly?
Our office did. Yes.
Your office. What does that mean? And do you remember who hired Jack Palladino to help with that case?
I do not. It was likely one of the attorneys. I think there were several different sets of attorneys.
Do you know Jerry Margolis is? Do you know who Jerry Margolis is?
Yes. I mean, I know the name. I never met him.
Now, while you worked for Jack Palladino, did your job duties that we just went over and extend over to R. Kelly's file?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I previously sent you some exhibits. Did you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And do you have them in front of you?
Yes.
I want to specifically direct your attention to Mr. McDavid exhibit number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9.
Yes. Should I pull those up or?
Sure.
Okay.
Now, you don't have access to the originals of these anymore, right?
That's correct.
And that's because you don't work for Palladino and Sutherland even since Jack passed.
Until somewhat after.
Ever since he passed, yeah. Okay. You were saying?
Until somewhat after he passed, that's right.
Okay. Now, do you have a chance to review? Did you have a chance to review these exhibits that I sent over to you?
Yes, I did.
And do they appear to the originals or duplicates of the originals of records kept in custody of Palladino and Sutherland?
Yes.
And I want to ask you a few more questions about these records. Now, based on the 41 or 42 years of your experience, you have worked with Jack Palladino at Palladino and Sutherland and maintaining these files and being familiar with the documents of these files were these 7 exhibits that you have in front of you. Were they made at or near the time of the occurrence that are set forth in them by a person with knowledge of these occurrences?
Yes, absolutely.
And was that person Jack Palladino?
Yes.
And were all of these records kept in the course of the regularly conducted business activities at Palladino and Sutherland?
Yes, they were.
And were such records made at Palladino and Sutherland as a regular practice because of, the business activities that Palladino engaged in?
Yes.
And I know I'm being a little bit redundant. Are these records true and accurate copies of the originals?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit McDavid Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9 into evidence.
They'll be admitted subject to court's previous ruling. McDavid exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, no 6, 7, and 9 received in evidence.
Thank you, Judge. Now, I want to take your attention just to one exhibit in particular on McDavid's exhibit number 9.
Okay, just 1 minute. Okay, I have it.
Okay. And can you tell me what McDavid exhibit number 9 is?
It appears to be an invoice.
Can we publish McDavid exhibit number 9?
You may.
Your Honor, can we have a sidebar?
Proceedings heard at sidebar. As you see, it's redacted. Proceed.
Can you publish PC 2? Okay. Ms. Johansson, do you have McDavid exhibit number 9 in front of you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So can you explain a little bit about what McDavid exhibit number 9 is?
Atmos?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Yes, this looks like an invoice. I see that it starts with page 2. It's the same name at the top of the header showing Derrel Mcdavid. That would be who it would have been sent to. The date, November 13th, 2002, would have been the date it was sent out.
And then what dates are covered by this invoice?
As far as I can see, it starts from August 8th of 2001 and running down to, it goes clear down to, it looks like July 3rd of 2002.
All right. And can you explain just on the first page what we're talking about? August 8th, 01 through August 24th, 01. What's that description in the middle? What's that about, and all the different descriptions?
Right. That's just to show what the activities were that were happening during that time.
All right. All right. So I want to direct your attention to August 21st, 01. Do you see that?
Yes, I do.
What does it say? What does that say was billed for August 21st, 01?
Shall I read that?
Yes.
Okay. So it says 2 o'clock to 5 p.m. consultations and preparation of award and expense agreement. Telephone conference regarding Freeman extortion with McDavid and Margolis. Conference call with C. Freeman.
Now, when it says telephone conference with McDavid, is that your understanding that he had a phone call with Mr. McDavid?
Yes.
And do you know who Mr. McDavid is?
Yes, I believe that's Derrel Mcdavid to whom this was addressed.
Okay, okay. And so because it says Mr. McDavid's name in the description, Mr. Palladino would have talked to Mr. McDavid, right? Objection. Cause for speculation and foundation.
Overruled.
Can you answer the question, Ms. Johansson?
I can answer the question? Oh, okay. So yes, that indicates that Jack would have spoken with Derrel Mcdavid.
Okay. Now then, I want to take you down to August the 22nd, 01. That also says there was a conference call with Mr. McDavid, right?
Correct.
And that would mean that he had a call with Mr. McDavid. Jack Palladino did, right?
Correct.
Now, I want to take you down to August the 23rd, 01, where it goes to 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Do you see that?
Yes. Yes, I do see it.
Can you read to me what the billing was for August 23rd, 01?
9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Obtain funding from bank. travel to Chicago. Travel from Chicago to Kansas City, Missouri. Conference with Chuck Freeman. Conference with L. Birkland, PSC examiner, and with J. Herlock, polygraph examiner. Administration of PSC and polygraph test to C. Freeman. Further conference with Freeman.
Did it say Mr. McDavid's name anywhere in August 23rd, 01 description?
Not that I can see.
And then after August 23rd, 01, it goes on to August 24th and so forth. Correct? Correct. All right. One second, Your Honor. 1 second, Your Honor. No more questions, Your Honor.
Any questions, Miss Bonjean?
I do, Judge. You can leave that up. Mr. Hansen, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to look at the exhibit that is presently before you, which is marked as McDavid's Exhibit 9. Are there any entries that reflect that Jack Palladino had any conversations with Mr. Kelly?
No, not that I can see here.
Are there any entries that demonstrate that Mr. Palladino had any meetings with Mr. Kelly?
No, not that I can see here.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Miss Judge? CJ, you can be Miss Judge.
I'm sorry, I'm here.
Okay, K-Love.
Nothing on behalf of Mr. Brown. Thank you.
Cross-examine Mr. Julian. You may question the witness.
Can we, Baldwin, do you mind if I take this down? Oh, you can take it down.
Where's
I don't know.
King Johan?
Johan.
Yo.
Can you please read Mr. Julian?
All right, we'll be at 6, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Can we vat him? Do you mind if I take this down?
Oh, you can take us down.
Good morning, Miss Johansson.
Good morning. Oh my goodness, I'm hearing a tremendous echo.
Try now.
Can you hear me okay, Miss Johansson?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Miss Johansson, you worked, I think you just told Mr. Glosman this on direct examination. You worked for Mr. Palladino for about 41 or 42 years. Is that right?
That's correct.
Did you enjoy working with Mr. Palladino?
Most of the time.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Most of the time.
Is it fair to say you worked for somebody 42 years? You're pretty loyal to that person, to that company.
Yes, I would say so.
And you wouldn't say anything today that would tarnish the legacy of Mr. Palladino, would you?
If I had something to say that would tarnish his name, but there's nothing that I could say like that.
Mr. Palladino, I think you told Mr. Glosman this on direct examination. He worked for Attorneys Fair.
In general, yes.
He worked for some pretty well-to-do people.
Yes.
He worked for some people with a lot of money.
Yes.
And Mr.
Oh, there. I'm sorry. There's no dogs allowed in the courtroom. We have a little play area in the back for any pet, but not in the courtroom, please. Thank you very much.
Yes, Your Honor. He was not cheap.
I'm sorry?
He was not cheap.
Right. He certainly was not cheap. In fact, I think in Exhibit 9, which you were shown by Mr. Glosman, it looks like Mr. Palladino was billing about $300 an hour.
Yes, that sounds about right.
Some of these billing entries are as high as $4,000, roughly. Fair?
Fair.
And Mr. Palladino's job as a private investigator was to represent clients who had hired him.
That's correct.
He was going to do a good job for those clients.
That's correct.
A lot of the times, if he's hired by lawyers, he's represented or was represented in adversarial proceedings. Is that right? Is that fair?
Yes.
In other words, there's someone on the side, and the person that Mr. Palladino is representing is on the other side.
That's correct.
So the interests that Mr. Palladino was representing were adverse to one of those parties. Fair?
Fair.
Mr. Palladino's job as an investigator was to make this client, the people who he was representing, look good in a lot of situations. Fair?
His job was to find out all the facts, not all of which would necessarily be good for the client.
His job was also to find out a lot of bad facts about the people who he was adverse to or his clients were adverse to.
Correct.
And in this case, the R. Kelly case, as we're calling it, this is what Mr. Palladino did. Is that right?
Objection. Speculation.
Yes.
You have some records in front of you. And we're not talking about them specifically, but there are records in front of you, Miss Johansson, that talk about some other people. Is that right?
Yes.
They don't talk about them in a positive light, do they?
Objection, Your Honor.
No, they don't.
Well, we'll see. Overruled.
I'm sorry, Miss Johansson. What was your answer?
No, they do not.
Could you repeat?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Palladino, he wasn't a journalist. Is that right?
That's correct.
When he's writing up documents for his clients, these aren't written in an objective journalistic fashion, right?
They were intended to portray the facts as he had learned them.
They were also intended to be used in furtherance of litigation in a lot of times. Is that right?
That's correct.
I want to talk about some of these records just at a high level, Miss Johansson. And let's start with Exhibit 9, which you were shown today.
Sure.
You didn't write these billing entries in Exhibit 9, is that right?
No, that's correct.
So when Mr. Glossman was asking you about certain things and whether they were accurate or what was happening in these entries, your knowledge of what was going on is based on reading Exhibit 9.
That's correct.
For example, you weren't on the telephone call with Mr. Margolis and Mr. McDavid and Mr. Freeman, were you?
Not that I recall.
So you don't know if the entry, for example, on page 1 of Exhibit 9, August 21st, 2001, which I believe Mr. Glossman asked you about, you don't know if this is accurate.
I was not in the room, so I don't know.
You were not a participant in this conversation.
Not to my recollection.
No. Okay. Mr. Glossman asked you about an entry at the bottom of Exhibit 9 on the first page, August 23rd, 2001. And I believe you said that this was for travel from Chicago to Kansas City. Do you remember being asked about that?
Yes, I do.
He asked you if Mr. McDavid's name was listed in that entry. Is that right?
That's correct.
You don't know if Mr. McDavid was there or not, do you?
I do not know.
All you know about what happened at the meeting is you reading this billing entry at the bottom of page 1 of Exhibit 9.
Correct.
You didn't put this document, Exhibit 9, together, did you?
No, I did not.
You didn't put any of this of the document.
No, I did not. Oh, wait. You mean, I'm sorry, did you mean produce it back in 2001 or 2002? Or did you mean put it together for subpoena?
In the sense, I'm asking the question, Miss Johansson, you didn't supply this information that's listed in Exhibit 9, did you?
That's correct. I did not.
You didn't supply the information that's listed and set forth in the other exhibits, which we didn't talk about specifically today, but which you have. Isn't that right?
That's right. I edited and produced them as reports, but I did not write them.
I think earlier, when I was asking you questions, you told me that Mr. Palladino was not a cheap man. Is that right?
That's correct.
When he was writing up documents for clients, reports, memoranda, etc., he was charging the clients for writing those documents. Is that right?
Sometimes yes, sometimes
And
no.
you represented him, or rather, you worked for him 41 or 42 years. You understand, Miss Johansson, that being in the legal business, being in the private investigatory business, it's a client driven business.
Very much so. Sure.
You want to represent clients?
Yes.
You want to have paying clients?
Yes.
You want to keep your clients happy?
Of course.
You want to private work products to your clients that you want to provide work products to your clients that they're happy with.
They may not always be happy with what they're given.
They certainly are paying for it, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And they're paying a lot of money for it.
That's what Jack would be hired for.
One of these documents that you have in front of you, I think it's Exhibit 7, is a 76-page document, isn't it?
That was 8.
Exhibit 8. My apologies.
We didn't move that into evidence.
No. Well, it's in evidence, but you wasn't shown this document, and it's Exhibit 8. Would you disagree with me that it's about 70 pages?
Objection, Your Honor. We didn't ask to move Exhibit 8 into evidence or show it to him.
Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Hold on. Well, he can inquire about some of these documents. Overruled.
I don't even know what Exhibit 8 is, though, because he didn't...
Well, I thought...
It wasn't actually moved in, but...
And that's outside the scope of direct then.
I mean, I don't even know what...
Well, it's a little difficult position because of the fact that these documents are not in evidence yet, so they can't be shown to the jury.
Judge, but they aren't even provided to us. I don't have a copy of it.
Can we get a sidebar real quick? Just about Exhibit 8.
All right. Proceedings heard it. Oh, I'd love to know what they was talking about right here.
What?
All right, we
number
back.
8?
I know.
Yeah,
the subject is sustained.
Can you hear me okay, Miss Johansson? Okay.
I can. Thank you.
I won't ask you about Exhibit 8. I will ask you about some other documents. And again, I won't talk about them specifically. But Exhibit 1, for example, is titled a report of investigation. Is that right?
That's right. I've got it here.
Mr. Palladino wasn't a law enforcement officer.
No.
There are other reports of investigation in the documents that you have. Is that right?
Yes.
For all these reports of investigation, Mr. Palladino was charging someone money as he was writing these documents. Is that right?
Sometimes he was and sometimes he was not. We could not always get him to remember to note down how long he spent writing. So sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Mr. Palladino's representation in this R. Kelly matter wasn't a pro bono matter, was it?
No, it was not.
R. Kelly and
it was
whoever was paying the bills. That was a paying client. Fair?
Oh, yeah, fair.
You weren't present for any of those events set forth in the report investigations that's Exhibit 1. Were you?
That's correct. I was not present.
You weren't present for any of the events set forth in any of these documents, were you? Exhibits 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 9?
Nope, I was not present.
So with respect to, and I've asked you about Exhibit 9, the others, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. You don't know whether this information contained within these records is accurate, do you?
I was not present for any of those.
If you give me one moment, Your Honor. A couple more questions, Ms. Johansson. Again, without being specific. There are a couple of unsigned affidavits within the documents that you have that are exhibits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7.
Okay.
I'm asking, do you know that to be the case?
Oh, I believe so. If you can direct me to, I believe I did see one of these, which was, hold on, let me go back to it. Can you tell me which one it is by any chance?
Sure thing. So let's talk.
Oh, I see it actually.
For example, and again, I'm just saying this by way of example, Miss Johansson. Exhibit 3.
Exhibit 3. Yes. And I just found Exhibit 5 also. So, Exhibit 3. Yes.
Exhibit 3 is a declaration?
An unsigned declaration.
It's unsigned.
That's correct.
Exhibit 5 is also unsigned.
In this version.
And Exhibit 5 is also unsigned.
Yes.
You don't know anything about the events that are set forth in Exhibits 3 and Exhibit 5, do you?
Only what I read in the reports.
You don't know if the information set forth in Exhibit 3 and Exhibit 5 is accurate, do you?
That's correct.
Nothing further, Judge.
Mr. Glasman, quickly.
Ms. Johansson, just a few more questions and then I'll let you go.
Great.
You would agree that Jack Palladino had a great attention to detail, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Based on your 41 or 42 years that you worked for him, did you know him to put any kind of false or inaccurate statements in the billing statements or in the billing entries?
Never.
Okay. And if he uncovers some kind of bad information for a client, he'd still tell the client about it, right?
Absolutely. Because if he uncovered it, chances were good that someone else would also. And what he was hired to do was find out exactly what happened, whether it was good or bad.
No more questions, Ms. Johansson. Thank you.
You can. Okay. Thank you very much. You can call your next witness, please.
Your Honor, at this point, we would read a stipulation and then call a subsequent witness.
All right. This is all right.
It is hereby stipulated to and agreed by and between the United States of America by and through its attorneys John R. Losh Jr., United States Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois, and defendants Robert Sylvester Kelly, Derrel Mcdavid, and Milton Brown, that the following facts are and should be considered to be true and accurate. On May 10, 2019, a representative from the United States Attorney's Office went to the office of the Cook County Clerk at the Delay Center and presented a form requesting that the civil lawsuit filed from Tracy versus Robert Kelly, case number 1L9690, Circuit Court of Cook County, Illinois, County Department Law Division. The representative from the United States Attorney's Office received the clerk's office copy of the documents from that case. The United States Attorney's Office has tendered to all counsel in this case copies of all documents received from the clerk's office in Tracy versus Robert Kelly, case number 1L9690.
We would now call Haley Coolbog, Your Honor.
Atmos?
I'm sorry, y'all. I was on mute. My bad. CJ, you can read there.
You missed the line.
I did. Okay. Okay.
20.
All right. I read it while I was on mute. Oh. All right. Before you sit down, please raise your right hand.
I do.
Hey, y'all, let's do this. Let's take a 5-minute break, and we will come right back. Okay? 5-minute break.
Cool.
All right, all right, all right. All right. All right. Hey, hey, hey. Let me take this music down. All right, y'all. We back. Y'all good?
Good.
Yeah, I'm good. Do you see what's going on in the chat?
Yes, sir.
What from Lizette and
No, not Lizette. I put it in the private chat.
About about Trey Songz.
No. I just put it in there just 30 seconds ago.
I'm trying to check it out.
Oh, let me see.
I don't know. It's getting a little weird in here. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Let me see.
I don't even know who that is, actually.
What is that? Hold on. Sorry, this is on open discussion with different opinions and views, not personal, at least not for me. No, I'm out. Peace and love, Atmos. Some girls get disrespected, but that girl wasn't acting like that when the abuser touched on their private areas. Hold on. What's up? Hold on. I'm a truth teller. I don't care about people feel no disrespect. I'm just saying, speaking in general, don't be worried about this or that girl abuser. Get your revenge and stop talking to others. Some girls get disrespectful, but that girl didn't acting like that when the abuser touched on their private areas. Have the same energy and stop making it hard for others with your trauma and get help.
That's what I'm saying.
Who is she talking to?
I don't know if he was attacking Lizette
Hold on. It'd be people who got raped themselves, worried about other people abuser. Go handle your business. Go get your. What the hell are you talking? What is?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Hold up. I don't usually say much, but I feel like people need to stop putting pedo on people's names. It be your own folks if they don't know these. Okay, I don't know what the hell going on with Tavia tonight, but it don't look like I don't know. But I don't want to get off focus. This ain't nothing. It's like a distraction. I don't want to. Hold on. I don't want to have no distractions, So let me do something right quick.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna do this right here, and we're gonna do this right here. All right, until I know what's going on, that just sounds like a whole bunch of drama to me. So let's continue. Hold on, let me take this down. All right. Let's continue, wonderful people. So I'll say 24. Please, you may remove your mask while you testify. Ms. Bonjean, I believe you're up.
Well, you forgot a line. Thank you.
Hold on. What'd I miss?
Miss Bonjean, you may ask your questions now. Something like that.
Okay. Ms. Bonjean, you may question the witness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Haley Coolbaugh, defendant Kelly's witness, sworn direct testimony.
Good morning, Miss Coolbaugh.
Good morning.
Miss Coolbaugh, could you reintroduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of this jury?
Sure, my name is Haley Coolbaugh.
And can you spell your last name for the court reporter?
Cllbaugh.
And Miss Coolbaugh, are you employed?
I am.
And who do you work for?
I work for you and your law firm, Bonjean Law Group.
And what do you do for the Bonjean Law Group?
I'm your paralegal.
Okay. And can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what your duties and responsibilities are as my paralegal or the paralegal for our law firm?
Sure. So, as a paralegal, I have a variety of responsibilities that range from answering and returning phone calls, calendar management, organization of case files, discovery review, drafting subpoenas, and assisting the attorneys in the courtroom during court proceedings.
And how long have you worked at the Bonjean Law Group?
Approximately 3 years.
And Ms. Kulbach, I want to direct your attention specifically to the litigation we are involved in here today. Have you had an opportunity to work in connection with the government's prosecution against Mr. Kelly?
I have.
And specifically, have you had the opportunity to review discovery that's been tendered in this case?
Yes.
Are you able to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, just generally at a high level, the volume of discovery that's been obtained?
The volume...
Mr. Julian.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Overruled at this point.
There's been a voluminous amount.
There's been a voluminous amount of discovery produced, roughly over 100 discs of discovery that can contain thousands and thousands of pages of documents per disc.
Okay. And specifically, and now I want to refer you to a collection of materials. You heard the stipulation that was entered into evidence of a court file related to Tracy's civil suit, Tracy versus Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to review that material that was produced by the United States Attorney's Office?
I did.
And what was your purpose in reviewing that material?
So when I do discovery review, typically I'm the first one that lays eyes on it. And I create what's called a discovery log that outlines by Bates stamp rage. And a Bates stamp label is essentially a label at the bottom right-hand corner, typically of each page of every document. I label a range of brief descriptions of what the document is. That way everybody's on the same page and we know exactly what was produced to us. So I was tasked with reviewing this file and outlining each page of what was identified as a court file for Tracy versus Robert Kelly.
What's going on?
Oh, geez, I didn't know I was on mute. And then that civil file, again, just generally, what types of documents were in that civil file that was produced by the government?
It appeared to be a court file that had pleadings, motions, subpoenas. There were a few phone records, but it was about 440 pages long.
Okay. Oh, and I want to specifically ask you, you mentioned phone records. Did you have an opportunity to review the phone records that were contained in the court file that the government obtained from the clerk's office in the civil litigation of Tracy versus Mr. Kelly?
I did.
And those phone records, again, without saying the name, did those phone records have an association with Tracy's last name?
Yes.
Okay. And who did those phone records appear to belong to?
They appear to belong to the plaintiff, Tracy, and it appeared to be a family member or relative of Tracy.
Okay. And I just want you to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, if you can, what was first of all, when you say phone records, describe what you mean by that.
What I mean by that is they were what appeared to be call detail records that outlined a date, a time, a phone number that would have been called, the amount of minutes, and the charges that would be associated with that call.
And were you able to determine whether or not there was a date range in those call detail records, like the earliest date of those call detail records and the latest date?
I was.
And what was the earliest date and the latest date?
The earliest date was April 11th, 2000, and the latest date was, let me see, the The latest date was January 12th, 2001.
Were there any call details from the year of 1999 in the civil file captioned Tracy versus Mr. Kelly?
There was not.
I have nothing further, Miss Kulbach.
Mr. Brindley? Mr. Brindley? King Johan?
Oh, I forgot I was Mr. Brindley. No questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Miss Judge?
No, thank you, Judge.
Miss Pozzolo?
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you just testified that you received documents from Tracy's civil lawsuit that were filed with the clerk's office, correct?
Correct.
So you did not review documents that were from her attorney's office, correct?
Correct.
So you don't know whether or not Tracy's civil attorney subpoenaed phone records from 1999, is that right?
That's right.
And you don't know whether or not Tracy's civil attorney received phone records from 1999, is that right?
Right.
And you don't know whether Tracy ever spoke to Robert Kelly over the phone in 1999, is that right?
Yes.
You also don't know that if all the records in Tracy's civil attorney's file were filed with the clerk of the court, is that right?
Correct.
One moment. Nothing further.
Just one question. Miss Kulbach, did you do anything in connection with trying to get the complete file from Miss Loggins, Tracy's attorney?
I did.
And what did you do?
I drafted a subpoena that we had issued to her, her law firm.
And in response to that subpoena, what did you get?
Nothing.
Nothing further.
You can step down. Call your next witness, please. Who is next?
Well, Jan, I don't know if there are any other witnesses for the other defendant. If there are not, then I think this would be a good time for our morning break before we get into my client's testimony, which I believe is the next order of business, unless there's a witness for either of the other defendants.
All right. We'll take 15-minute recess. Recess is from 11:24 a.m. to 11:38 a.m. Please be seated. Defense may call the next witness.
Your Honor, defense calls Derrel Mcdavid.
Mr. McDavid, come up forward. Which way do you want me to go, sir? Sir, please raise your right hand. Yes, I do, Your Honor. Please be seated. You may remove your mask when you testify, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Brindley, you may question the witness. Derrel Marcus McDavid, defendant McDavid's witness, sworn direct examination.
Please state your name.
Derrel Marcus McDavid.
Where do you live, sir?
Chicago, Illinois.
And how long have you lived in Chicago, in the Chicago area?
Approximately 50 years.
What is your current occupation?
I'm a certified public accountant.
And in addition to being a certified public accountant, do you do any other work or have any other business?
Yes, I do.
And what is that other work or business?
I'm involved in the real estate business. I'm involved in the restaurant business.
Do you presently have a restaurant here in Chicago?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you had that restaurant?
We started in construction in 2007. I believe it opened in 2009.
And Do you have an office, Mr. McDavid?
Yes, sir.
And where is your office located?
110 West Kinsey, Chicago, Illinois.
What? You said that you are a certified public accountant. What is the name of your accounting firm?
Winkler and McDavid.
How long have you owned Winkler and McDavid?
Approximately since 1984.
Can you describe the educational background that led you to run Winkler and McDavid?
I went to Kenwood Academy for high school. I went to Augustana College for college. I had to take a vigorous CPA exam that was 19 hours, and I passed the exam. I do continued education.
When did you become a certified public accountant?
1987.
Now, back when you became a certified public accountant, and I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about back then. Back when you became a certified public accountant, even then, did you have other sources of income besides accounting?
Yes, sir.
And what was the other source of income you had then?
Real estate business.
And can you explain what you did to make money in the real estate business back then?
Well, several things. One, I bought it, I rehabbed and flipped houses and apartment buildings. I also acquired apartment buildings to hold on to for long-term investments. I also took some buildings and did 1031 exchanges and bought other buildings. A 1031 exchange is where you don't pay income tax.
And how did you get into the real estate business in the first place?
My biggest client at the time was a real estate broker, and frankly, I watched how much money he was making, and it seemed like an interesting proposition. So that's how I got into it.
Now, what kind of accounting clients did you have?
I had a variety of clients: doctors, lawyers, optometrists, music clients, producers, represented a few TV personalities, news personalities. I'm sorry.
Between accounting and real estate, then, Mr. McDavid, were you making a good income for yourself before you ever met R. Kelly?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, at the time that you met Robert Kelly, or R. Kelly, as he's been called at various points, what were your real estate holdings like at the time you met him, based on income you had coming in before you ever met him?
I probably had about 6 or 7 properties. So my income, it was substantial.
Now, did your firm ever represent, and I think you hinted at this a moment ago, but did your firm ever represent celebrities other than R. Kelly?
Absolutely.
Can you give some examples?
I represented the Hughes brothers, who did a movie. It was a claim called Menace to Society. I represented a lot of producers, which were behind the scenes people. I also represented Sinbad.
The comedian?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how extensive did your entertainment accounting practice become over time?
Extensive enough that I had to open an office in California.
And so the office, did you need the office in California too, because of your business from R. Kelly, or did you need the office in California because of all of the other entertainment business you were doing?
Oh, definitely because of all the other entertainment business.
Okay. And at this point, how long would you go to California, or how often would you go to California, for example?
Objection, Your Honor. If we could just get a time frame.
Every 2 weeks or so. Wait, hold on.
Mr. McDavid, when did you establish the second office in California? I mean, the best you can remember, a year, if you can do it.
I'm basing it on the age of, just give me 1 second, please. Approximately 1990 or 1991.
Okay, okay. And how often would you go to California?
I'd buy tickets in bulk. So pretty much every other week.
Now, before you ever knew the prospect or the possibility of representing Robert Kelly, do you recall when you first heard Robert Kelly's name?
Absolutely.
Can you describe for us when and how you first came to hear the name Robert Kelly?
I was playing cards at my friend's house, and one of my old high school mates, I can't remember his first name. His last name was Peyton. Walked into the card party. He was very ecstatic. He said that he had just signed a group called R. Kelly and Public Announcement. And he was positive that R. Kelly was going to be a big player in the music industry.
And how long? Well, let me ask you this. When was it, to the best of your recollection, when it was first suggested to you that you might do accounting work for R. Kelly?
Approximately 1989 or 1990.
And how long was it from the time you first heard his name until the time that, let me make sure I'm clear with my question. How much time went by in between when you first heard his name that you recall and when you first had someone propose to you the idea that you might represent him?
A couple of years.
All right. Who was it that suggested it to you? First suggested to you that you might work for R. Kelly?
Derrel Porter.
Who is Derrel Porter?
He is the executive vice president of entertainment at WGN. He was also one of my clients.
And when was that? Like, to the best of your recollection, when Mr. Porter suggested to you the possibility about your future representation of Robert Kelly?
Rob, approximately 1988-ish.
And what did Mr. Porter say to you regarding possible representation of Robert Kelly?
Well, he said, I've got this kid. He's going to be big one day, and do you want to work with him?
Now, how long after the first suggestion by Mr. Porter that there was a guy, Robert Kelly, that was going to be big someday, that you would want to work with him in the future? How long was it before you were contacted about actually starting to work for Mr. Kelly?
Approximately a year.
And so was this around 1990 or 1991? Is that correct?
Sounds right.
Now, who proposed it to you that the time had come for you to actually be hired by or begin working for Mr. Kelly?
Derrel Porter.
And who, if anyone, did Derrel Porter put you in touch with in order to begin the process of deciding whether you would indeed be hired for Robert Kelly's accounting?
Barry Hankerson. Can I get some water, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem.
Excuse me.
You said Barry Hankerson. Who was Barry Hankerson to Robert Kelly back in 1990 or so?
His personal manager.
And did you have to meet with Mr. Hankerson?
Absolutely.
Where did you meet Barry Hankerson?
It was at the Knickerbocker Hotel in Chicago.
Who was present for this meeting between you and Barry Hankerson?
It was myself, Barry Hankerson, and Derrel Porter.
And what happened during the meeting between you and Barry Hankerson?
He talked to me about 10 or 15 minutes, looked over at Derrel Porter and said, he's fine with me.
Okay. After meeting with Barry and after Barry said that he approved of you to Mr. Porter, what's the next step that was required before actually getting hired to work for Mr. Kelly or Robert Kelly?
Well, I had to meet with Robert.
Okay. Where did you meet Robert?
At his studio.
Who was present when you met him?
Derrel Porter, myself, and Robert. There may have been some engineers. I don't recall.
Okay. Now, we've heard Robert Kelly described in all kinds of various ways by various people during this trial, but I want to go back to that first encounter that you had. I like you to describe for us what that first meeting with Robert Kelly was like and what he was like when you first met him.
The first words out of Robert's mouth was, "Have you heard my music?" And I said, "No, I haven't." And he kind of looked down on the floor like he was a little bit disappointed. And when I met Robert, he was shy, introverted. I'm only going to say, kid, for lack of a better word, humble. He was just trying to get into the music business and make it.
Now, what kind of conversation did you have with Mr. Kelly after telling him that you hadn't heard his music?
He perked up a little bit and he's just like, "So what would you do for me?"
Objection, Your Honor, as to the hearsay.
It's not offered for the truth of the matter asserted, but for the impact on Mr. McDavid in the future course of conduct. It's not offered for the truth.
Overruled.
What did you say to Mr. McDavid? What did you say, Mr. McDavid? What did he say?
So you're the guy that's going to handle my money. And I said, yes. And pretty much he smiled. That was the extent of our conversation.
And after that, were you hired to represent Robert Kelly?
Yes, I was.
Right on that day?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what kind of work were you initially hired to do on behalf of Mr. Kelly?
Accounting work. I was a CPA.
And what did Robert Kelly's accounting mean in terms of Robert Kelly's accountant mean in terms of your duties at the beginning?
Well, at the beginning, frankly, not very much at all. There wasn't much money. I just made sure that his income statements were prepared, his taxes were filed. Since he had no experience with money, every once in a while, he would ask me a question. I tried to guide him.
Now, when did the volume of the work you did when did the volume of work you had to do for Mr. Kelly start to increase?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that?
When did the amount of work you had to do for Robert, when did that start? Like first start to increase?
After his first album.
Okay. What was the first album, if you remember?
Born in the 90s. It was entitled Born in the 90s. It was R. Kelly and Public Announcement.
And was that the first album? Was that first album a success?
Yes, it was.
And how could you tell or decide that album number one was a success? Like, what about that album?
It went platinum.
Can you explain for the jurors what it means to go platinum?
In the United States, that means it sells over 1 million copies.
So, how does a successful album that goes platinum impact what you're doing as an accountant for the entertainer, Mr. Kelly?
It opens up a variety or a various amount of other income streams. He gets paid money. So we went, from not having much money to, I can't recollect at the time, probably 700 million.
You think 700 to $1 million? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Okay.
Sorry.
So at the time that he has more money like that, what did that do in terms of your duties and what you had to do?
Well, now I'm hiring lawyers. I'm hiring insurance brokers. I'm hiring agents and other types of professionals.
Okay. Now, so we talked about the first album when things started to change, and where was there a point where Mr. Kelly's status in the music industry really started to change significantly?
Absolutely.
Okay, and can you identify at what point that was?
It was the release of 12 Play. That would have probably been 1994 or 1995.
12 Play was
his first solo album.
So the first R. Kelly album by himself.
Yes, sir.
And I like you to, if you could, give the jurors a sense of how successful that album was in terms of, well, just in terms of your knowledge as an accountant. Explain how you knew the success and the degree of success of that album.
The first week, the album sold 212,000 copies, and it went on from there.
Did the album, are you talking about going platinum, or are we talking about something more than that?
Oh, over the course of time, it went multi-platinum. I couldn't tell you. Probably 4 or 5 times platinum.
Okay. Now, do you recall when it was that you first personally realized that the degree of high success that Mr. Kelly could achieve, or in other words, when you first realized that Mr. Kelly could be a superstar?
Yes.
Please explain for us when you first personally realized that and how.
I was with my sons and my daughter, hadn't been born yet, and my wife. We had taken a trip to Georgia. We were on our way back, and my wife, liked the music or liked to listen to country music. So she was playing a country station, and in the midst of the country music, 12 Play came on the radio on a country station. I glanced over at my wife and I said, "It looks like he's made it."
Now, did Robert have, we're talking about album sales, but did Robert have income sources beyond the sale of albums?
Objection, Your Honor, just as to the time frame.
Absolutely.
When we're talking,
I think the time frame should probably be the whole time, but certainly from the time that 12 Play came out. Did Robert have sources of income besides album sales?
Absolutely.
Okay. Explain where the other income comes from beyond the album sales.
Mr. Kelly was one of the most prolific songwriters that there were. So he received money from writing songs for other artists. He also was a producer. So he received money from producing. I believe he was also credited with being the person who invented the remix, concerts, a multitude of things. I can't remember every single one of them right now.
All right, let's talk about the. You talked about the songwriting where he gets paid by other artists. When he's producing music for other artists, what does he do? Like, what does that mean?
Robert was self-contained, so he could do anything. He could do everything. So he would write a song, he'd write the music, he'd tailor and take it to each artist, and then he'd actually perform the song the way that he wanted the artist to sing it, and that was pretty much how that went.
Okay, you mentioned that that Robert was self-contained. Can you give a better or elaborate on the definition of what it means to you when you say Robert was self-contained?
In the music industry, you see all these people on TV, and they sing these songs, but most of them are just singers. To be self-contained means that you have the ability to write the song, create the music, put the melodies together, play the instruments. It's you can do everything. You are a complete contained person. You sit him right now. You could set him right now over at a table, and he could produce a song.
Okay, so was that the fact that he was, well, this fact that he's self-contained based on your observation and working with people in that industry, did that make Robert Kelly unique?
Yes, it did.
Did that prove to be financially lucrative in a significant way?
Yes.
All right. Now, you can explain in the beginning how you were paid by Robert Kelly. I mean, the very first.
Hourly.
Did that change?
Yes.
And what did it change to? Like, without specific numbers particularly, but instead of hourly, did it change to some other form of payment?
A percentage.
Okay. And did the amount of the percentage actually change over time?
Correct.
Objection, Your Honor. Can we just get some dates and time frames that we're talking about here?
It's a general question. I mean,
go ahead. Okay.
Thank you. Now,
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I didn't hear your ruling.
He said that I could proceed.
It was general, and I will assume he will be more specific.
That is correct. Why did it change to a percentage?
Because I went from being Mr. Kelly's accountant to his business manager.
Okay, and roughly, where did that transition to being more than an accountant to actually being the business manager? Roughly, when did that transition start to happen?
Mid-90s.
Now, what does it mean to go from being an accountant to being a business manager?
The best analogy would be, could give the difference between a doctor and a patient, a lawyer and a client. A business manager is to money. Basically, a business manager handles all the financial things, all the business things, anything to do with the finances. So you write checks, pay bills, make sure the cars are insured, help buy the cars, help type up things, those types of things.
So for some examples, if Mr. Kelly wanted to get a new car, what was your role with that?
He'd call me, and I tried to get him a used car, but we'd wind up with a new one.
Okay, if Mr. Kelly wanted to get a new house, what was your role with that?
He'd call me, and I'd wind up getting him a house.
Okay. So, in terms of dealing with the real estate brokers, negotiating the prices, who did all of that?
That was under my purview.
Okay, and when it came to the details, other than spending the money, which I understand he wanted a house, he wanted a car, but outside of spending the money, when it came to the details of how the finances were handled, how much of a role or interest did Robert Kelly indicate to you he wanted to have?
If there's something less than zero, that would be it. He didn't want to be involved at all.
So is it fair to say then when it came to expenses and the things that he wanted, Mr. Kelly would explain to you what they were, and he would expect you to handle the money such that he could obtain them?
Objection, Your Honor.
Over time, as I became his business manager, yes. Hold on.
Objection.
Oh, what's the objection? I'm sorry?
Leading, Your Honor.
It doesn't suggest the answer, Judge. It's a fair question.
Leading, overruled, but give him latitude in his answers. Okay,
yes.
y'all, we're gonna start right there. We're gonna stop right there. Here at 3054. We're stopping at the top of 3054. Great job once again, team. Great job once again.
Good job.
Great job, y'all. Great job.
Man.
3054. So this is the nuts and bolts of this thing, y'all. We're about to really get into the nuts and bolts of this thing and really see everything that was said on that stand by Derrel Mcdavid. I think we're going to be able to pull some things apart and be like, what's this? Thank y'all. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had a quick question. So did that mean that he had to have some kind of power of attorney to make those kind of purchases for him?
He had to, because I mean, yeah, he pretty much controlled like
everything. Like everything he bought, all jewelry, everything he done had. Okay, question. Why wouldn't he, when he was wearing that silly mask, why didn't he just say, no, don't buy that?
He probably, as you heard,
yeah,
when he asked for a car, he tried to get him a used one, but they ended up with a new one. So he was trying to teach R. Kelly, listen, there's no need for you to buy no new car. Like, just buy a used one. But obviously, R. Kelly is going to overrule that, and you're not going to continue. And I think this is the start of when we're seeing, other than the other things we saw with Demetrius Smith and all the other people, that they pretty much did whatever he told them to because he was paying.
I feel like he throws temper tantrums like a 2-year-old.
Probably.
Absolutely.
Stomps his feet. Just
yeah, I mean, you saw him on Gayle King.
Exactly. There you go.
But you also saw him on Gayle King say he never walked into a bank, and he basically didn't. He said it right there. I don't want to have to do nothing with the money. You handle it.
And that's why he was robbing them blind.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. He definitely was getting his money.
Is Logan still alive?
Yep. Ugh. She was supposed to be in this in New York, and she didn't go either. She got subpoenaed in New York.
See, she probably knew how to get out of that stuff.
Well, I mean, attorney-client.
He even said that she had to take care of her mother. Her mother was
right
sick.
Oh.
Very convenient.
Right?
There's so many things. There's so many things.
What do we have here?
Well, y'all, it is Saturday night. I want y'all to get some rest. Y'all have been rocking with me this whole way. We're right at the end. We are right at the end, and so
statements on Monday. What?
Huh?
Closing statements on closing arguments on Monday.
I know. So I'm thinking tomorrow we can get in here and continue to plow through this. Do y'all like what is there a certain time? I know football come on doing this. The fellas who watching football, probably some of the ladies too. Tomorrow is opening day for football. Do y'all want to come on here at 7? Or usually the last game before the Monday night game comes on at 8 o'clock. Do y'all want to come on at 7 tomorrow night, or you want to still do 9? Like, what works best for y'all?
7's fine for me.
7's fine for you. It's fine for me too. What about you, Tag? Well, I know the kids probably be up, right?
Yeah, I can try and work it out though.
CJ, how does 7 look for you?
That's fine.
Okay, so can we come back here? Johan, how about you?
I probably can pull up for a little bit because I gotta shoot at 8 o'clock. But
cool. Okay, I appreciate that. Johan, how about you? King Johan, you here? Okay, his phone probably acting crazy. So we'll plan. So tomorrow, y'all, 7 o'clock tomorrow. We'll come back and we will get back.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now.
Yeah, that's good.
Tomorrow, okay, work. Awesome. Well, listen, everybody, thank y'all so much for coming out again. Please hit the like button on your way out. Just so y'all know, we are actually $150 away from being able to get the transcripts from yesterday. So we can all come together to get those. Everyone who ordered the transcripts from Thursday should have them. I sent them out this morning. I got them late. Actually, I sent them out last night. I got them late last night. Did you got yours, Tanya?
Yeah, I got them.
Oh, y'all. Okay, perfect. However, if y'all could please help us to get these, we're right at the end, so we could all pitch in. I know it's rough, and times are hard for everybody, but we can all come together, pitch in here and there. We will be able to come up with that 150 to go ahead and order those transcripts to either tonight or tomorrow. We should be able to have them by Monday morning. Okay. But y'all listen, y'all have a blessed day. Thank y'all for being in here, and I will holler at y'all later on. Did anybody have anything before we left they want to say?
No, I think I'm good.
Atmos.
All right.
$700 million. God, hey.
Right?
Man, please. I know, right?
So was it 700 million or 700,000?
700,000.
I'm about to say
million.
That was for the first album only, though.
Okay, yeah, because I'm about to say that nigga had that much.
Right.
Like, man, he should though.
At the highest point, he was close to.
No, I mean, if he was brighter, he would have that much.
Yeah, he would. If he wouldn't have been getting robbed.
Because he was writing,
instead he wanted to start the settlement factory.
Right, that saves money. That saves the labor. Like you get all that back on your budgets.
Yeah, so he could have had his full masters and everything.
Yeah, he was just stupid. Man.
He wants to be doing settlements, so
of settlements.
That's where his money went to.
I want to that complaint so bad that oh wow,
settlements.
The one that's not that. That's got all the juice in it.
You want David? He was just settling them to shut them up. I'm not paying nobody $250,000 if I didn't do anything. I'm sorry. I don't care how it looks.
Yeah. The one thing I'm thinking about, like, this really should be like
out of the woodwork, and I'm like, look at all these people are suing me. I just want to be transparent. It's lies. Like, he could have come out 30 years ago and said something.
Right. Let me remind you all, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock a.m., I will be live. I do my morning worship service called This Blessed House Ministries. We come on at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Anyone out there who would like to come in a fellowship with us, you are welcome to come in. We have a great time. A lot of people learn a lot. I truly allow God to just kind of have his way on this channel because he is like the center of my life and everything that I do. Also on Thursday nights, we have our music battles. Y'all would have a ball with those. Okay. This next week we have a really great competition going on between Noonie and a young lady named T-Bam. I need to reach out to her to make sure that she's still. Yeah, it's gonna be very good. So y'all be here for next Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. I'll put out the flyer so y'all have a reminder. But other than that, man,
I have one thing. I have one thing. Of course, I always have one thing, right?
Go ahead.
Always.
When I'm awake.
I do too. At the heart.
We love.
We're at Atmos is at 3,980 subscribers, y'all.
Wow.
20 away from 4K. Come on. Hit that subscribe.
We are 20 away from 4K.
That's so close, guys.
Wow.
That.
Man,
but tomorrow when we come on, I want to see 4,000. Come on, everybody.
Man, we do 4,000. Oh, it's gonna be crazy. So we were supposed to celebrate 3K. We've been so busy, we ain't had time. But in the meantime, like, God is elevated, and so I gotta, listen, man. Thank y'all for just rocking with us and appreciating our hard work, and being here. So, but yeah, if y'all could do me a favor, share this video on your social medias, share it, and ask your friends and family to subscribe to the channel. We do a lot of great things on this channel, and we want to definitely push this out with the algorithm. So if you have YouTube channels, I know Ike Nice has a pretty big following on Instagram. Let's continue to support and share the channel, y'all, and ask people to subscribe. Okay.
I just want to say before we close, hopefully my availability will get better. I'm trying to get rid of this second job. I'm up for a job with the government right now.
Wow.
You guys could put that out there, because man, I'm telling you, working 2 jobs is not fun. So I'm trying to.
Well, I pray you
find
get
a solution
job,
to that.
Man. I pray you get that. I will definitely pray for you that God gives you that job.
I appreciate it.
Me too.
Yep. So.
And also, man, shout out to Ike Nice, y'all. He had a concert last night. And he performed with Keith Sweat, I believe, and some other people. How did it go, bro?
It was good, man. And we was in Denver and in Colorado with it was Keith and Genuine 112 and Moke and Steph.
Oh, word! I heard them in a minute.
Nice.
It's a good show.
Awesome, man.
Congrats.
He out there doing it. So y'all listen, y'all have a blessed night. Thank y'all for being here, and I will holler at y'all on tomorrow.
All right, good night, everyone.
All right,
y'all. Have a good night. Bye.
Peace.
Peace out. Peace out.
It's all good. Thought I couldn't when I could. Woo!